There's always more Cosmonarchy, and tonight I'm gonna be bringing you Neblime versus TopRamen Part 2. I say tonight, but really this is releasing in the day. I'm just recording it in the night. You know how it is. Potidea going on for new map by BiddyB here. Also artwork, apparently, terrain and stuff. Decor done by Jujic. Shout out to the mappers of the space. Neblime in the top left here as what I'm going to go ahead and call the... Ooh, this probably is glacial, isn't it? I'm going to say it's... Oh, it's not glacial. It's not glacial. It's, what's that color where it's really light blue, but it's not called that? It's, fuck it. It's glacial. Ah, it was Alice Blue. That was the color I was thinking. I couldn't remember the name, so it doesn't count. And we got Ramen here as the Platinum Terran, bottom right. That one's easier. Got our sounds working today. Got everything working all okay with the pylons making nice little sounds. Actually, after I record this, I'm going to be doing a dev stream where part of what I'm going to be trying to do with that dev stream is going to be do work on the Terran sounds finally. Because when you start construction with a Terran, there's no sound effect. And when you finish construction with a Terran, there's no sound effect. And of course, by that I mean ambient sound effects. Although there's no sound effect at all when you start it, even if you're the player who's doing it, right? There's that little thunk sound that's like acknowledging the order. I almost feel like maybe that should be the sound effect that plays when you start the construction, or maybe even when you end it, but that would be really confusing. So we're going to make unique sound effects for all of that stuff. We actually have a double fulcrum opener here for TopRamen, who has had a tough time of it in the series so far, with the workers giving each other a kiss on the way towards each other's bases. This is an XY map, only 2 spawns. Keep that in your head. In fact, we might end up seeing a longer game between these two one of these days, because that would be great to really show what this map is capable of doing. I did release a castover attempt that I made between Arbuz and Neblime in the Discord server. We have a videos channel where I sometimes will share unlisted content, so if you're interested in that sort of thing, you really want to get your hands on every single casted video I've ever done, there's some funny comedy in that one. It will make you laugh probably, so I can highly recommend that, but of course, in order to make that happen, you will need to join our Discord server, which is always linked in the description of all of these videos. With that being said, the Vulture is now loose. It's going to go ahead and pick the Worker. Actually, it doesn't even look like the Worker was able to do any damage to the Vulture this time around, so the Hierophant that's going to pop out here first is going to have a little bit more of a hard time clearing that. However, the Mason, this is only the second game out of 4 so far that the Mason has actually showed up and started to do anything. So you can see here, he's already putting down some damage onto the Hierophant. Well, whether that's going to be significant is yet to be determined. There's the Mason finally being focused down, and you can see, the Vulture is obviously stymied, not quite able to do too much. It doesn't look like that mine is... Oh, look at that. All right, he gets popped, but the second Vulture is here, but the Dracodon is as well. So I really don't know if this is going to end up resulting in Ramen actually being able to pick this Hierophant. I do like the little moves he had with regards to the scatter shot there and kind of trying to stop the Hierophant from doing too much. But at the end of the day, he sacrifices 2 Vultures for 1 Hierophant. I'm almost inclined to say that that's okay, because of the fact that when you have the Hierophant there, it slows down your ability to really move as a unit with all of your Vultures. And now we've got 3 Vultures coming out all at once. I think one of these rallies was not set up properly or something. So as of right now, we've got 1 Vulture out here. Mines are going to go ahead and hit. That might provoke these new coming Vultures to really start putting some hurt onto Neblime, as this is not StarCraft 1 with the damage types, right? So like the Dracodons can absolutely take damage courtesy of these Vultures. They do end up going after the Scribe, and they finish off one of the Dracodons, so far only taking 1 loss in return. I would honestly be really careful for Neblime's sake of putting the Cantavus out there. And in fact, he's actually allowing his Dracodons to kind of just soak up a lot of that damage. But what is the reaction from Ramen? He doesn't have any more Vultures on the way. He has ended up sacrificing his Vultures over here, it looks like. He's not able to pick the Cantavus, and now it looks like the minefield will be cleared while Ramen plays a little bit more defensively with all of the Vultures. So if you guys didn't know this was not StarCraft 1, now you know. The spider mines are called lobotomy mines, and they cast lockdown on their hit, basically. And it doesn't last an eternity, unlike lockdown in StarCraft 1. Vultures have a little thruster pack. I love that about them. Preemptive Storm, he's just trying to clear the mines. There's nothing there to clear, but he doesn't know that. And this does feel like a very fragile attack force here. The Ramen Vultures can and will run roughshod over this position if Neblime is not careful. Look at that. Charging in, trying to get the better of him. There is a second Cantavus a little bit further north. Now, Ramen does end up sacrificing 1 Vulture for the cause. He's got 5 of them over here, back and forth. This force not really going to be able to step to the Vultures by themselves, I feel like. Legionnaire narrowly avoiding death. You can see him, he's stepping forward. trying to figure out where the attack path is. Now, does Neblime have the APM required to actually cover so many of the storms, right? He's trying to get all of the mines taken care of. He kind of knows where there's safety, but look at that. When you have 5 vultures, you can one-shot the Cantavis, and that's exactly what happens there. Nice couple of stuns there. Kind of working against Ramen a little bit there, and now the Cantavis is getting stunned a little bit as well. That is, of course, going to short-circuit any active storms that might be happening. Another one here. Dude, he's making so many of them, really dedicating his Grand Library to that one structure. And now, this middle path going to allow Neblime some movement outside. He does see that the minefield has been laid, and he's just going to try his best to clear it with relative safety, as more vultures have been made. The natural already up and running. That's a very exposed Cantavis. That feels like a really good opportunity to maybe jump on this force, but Ramen doesn't make the most of it. He does have 6 vultures still. Remember, you need 5 to attack in unison to one-shot the Cantavis. This is where I was talking about that Hierophant would have been super good, but just to slow these units down, maybe get individual picks. The Zealot ends up going down. One of these Legionnaires very, very wounded. More vultures out here, and a Phalanx has already been made. We can finally look at the Terran base. He is starting to make 2 tanks at a time. Embassy out for Neblime. This can mean a drop. You know, that could very well mean, you know, an envoy is going to be made. That's the new name for the shuttle. And the Cantavis will be, you know, in the envoy very soon, I imagine, to cast Storm. Now, Storm doesn't stack in Cosmonarchy, but it does allow you to recast it to make it move. So you can drop one Cantavis here, cast it here, and then recast it down here, and it'll kind of blanket the whole Mason, like the whole worker line or whatever. So there's a bunch of things that we're testing with that revision to Psionic Storm, but I think it's pretty cool. You know, the numbers might be a little bit out of whack. That's why we have these games to cast, and that's why we can test things. But now with Ramen gunning for the Phalanxes and the Ministry now coming online for a 3rd base, before the Protoss is actually able to secure one of his own, he has put a pylon there in the middle of that. He's watching top right just in case there's some ninja expansion going on. He still has the 4 Cantavis just kind of idling in the middle, and now he's grabbing Atreus's out of the Grand Library. I don't know. I'm not sure where this game is actually going to normalize out. I think we're a few battles away from calling it, is my thinking. But it does feel like Neblime is in a bit of a brittle position. Even though he's ahead in workers, obviously Ramen has okay saturation on the minerals down here in the natural, and of course he does have the 3rd base on the way. So as long as he can hold this attack, you know, obviously the witnesses are revealing all of the mines, so, you know, he's going to try to hold it with just vultures and phalanxes. This is, it looks like before the phalanx projectile speed increase. That came in some days after this game was played. Not because of this game, or if anybody is curious about that, but that's just one way to make the Phalanx a little bit more reliable, because it does have a projectile, right? Now, the 3rd base doesn't end up getting stymied over here. This one vulture is going to go ahead and kill the Scribe. Looks like a Psystorm was maybe planned there by that Cantavis, but you really got to watch out for the Phalanxes, because just 2 of them will instantly, you know, gib the Cantavis at that point, so... More Fulcrums being added. We have 3 Phalanxes a pop. The Ardent Authority is nearly finished back in the main base. Actually, that's going to get canceled in exchange for a Stargate. Looks like Neblime wants a little bit more tech on the side of it. I love the Vultures coming on out just to pressure the Cantavis countdown. Looks like at least one of them fell. I thought there was actually going to be 4 down here, so... Oh yeah, there's the 4th one there. I was wondering what's going on there. It doesn't look like Neblime actually caught that Ministry move out. Instead, he's going to see about descending upon this force, but I love the spacing here. Storm on top of his own witness, but luckily for Neblime, he actually ends up having all of his Cantavises blown up. Yeah, I know, I said luckily for him. I just meant because he saved his witness. That's obviously the most important unit in this army. But the Phalanx is really proving their worth there. And now that they are in... you know, tank mode, they're going to go ahead and try to step forward. This one's very, very wounded, so it's going to go down in just a couple of Drakiden hits. And now the splattering is going to attempt to begin here. If Ramen is going to be good enough with his micro and his targeting with the Phalanxes, he can splatter a lot of these Drakidens. Vultures come in just in the nick of time to try to get rid of the Amaranth and the Zealot that was dealing a little bit of melee damage. Got a couple of Legionnaires out here as well as the Zealot. Yeah, no. Well, there's a couple of mines left over. No, why not, man? Why not? But you can see here that the army for the Terran is a little bit brittle. He's actually left a couple of tanks back here that he probably shouldn't have. Aggressively spacing it in favor of not losing to the interminable number of storms that Neblime likes to deploy. He is making 2 Exemplar a pop and adding a 3rd Stargate. So back at home, the Protoss is switching into Sky Toss at this point with a couple of, you know, very respectable ground units as well. You got the Masons going ahead and repairing the Phalanx. And a fourth Ministry on the way, as this one has not really been saturated yet, unlike Neblime's third base, which is up and running, but it's also very open. So I would really hate to be the Scribes working in that position. The Atlas is now under construction, so it looks like TopRamen will have a good shout at making something happen in this game, as the fourth base is obviously on location for Neblime. He doesn't have the luxury of lifting his structures, but he is going to go ahead and drop a Nexus over there in the 1 o'clock position. Running counter to that, a 7 o'clock is about to be discovered by the Zealot, and Neblime will, of course, be reminding Ramen that, oh, yeah, I have this base. Sometimes that happens. Couple of good number of phalanxes. Looks like he's around 12. Vulture's taking a little bit of a beating from the Architect. As long as the missile for the Architect travels enough distance, it basically clones and can target up to 2 more enemies. But, of course, you have to actually see that the... yeah, you have to actually have vision of the general area of that, and that's where the Witness comes in. Actually, the lobotomy mine's kind of coming in clutch there because they're absorbing some of the missile splits. Vultures are now doing a little bit of a raid onto these workers. One of them was like very low HP from the Architect missiles, so just gets focused down by the workers anyway. This is actually going to force Neblime, it looks like, to abandon his position. And, oh, the Cantavis almost body blocked that really dastardly. 4 HP left on that Architect. Dangerous position to be in. Vultures are continuing to cause some problems for Neblime. He's trying to preemptively use the Psystorm to see what he can do there. If only that was the Wounded Architect, those 2 Vultures could have claimed an expensive scalp for the purpose of doing that. But now this Pylon is going to just frustrate Ramen a little bit, just annoy him a little bit, as the Starport and the Mantle are on the way. Tier 2 now complete for our Terran player, and lifting off yet another Ministry. Oh no, I guess that's the same one. He must have emergency airlifted it from the 7 o'clock position. It's also going to go ahead and take this, like, what would you call this one? Because the Natural's positioned at kind of like 5, so I guess this is interior 5, inner 5, and then this would be, I'm always blanking on these quick draw ones, in inner 11, I suppose. Interesting. All right, so we've got a good number of Auroras. This is where the air army is starting to reveal itself. Ramen not really able to position himself in a way to actually scout his opponent. Looks like he is going to be taking a lot of hits. He went into siege mode. I just want to let you guys know, when the Phalanx is in siege mode, it loses its armor. And the Auroras don't do great damage versus armor. They only have 1 armor pen, so they'd be dealing 5 damage per hit. And that's just going to be enough for Ramen to say GG. He does not have the response to all of the air units that pivot in there. And so, as a result, I mean, a bit of an anticlimactic ending, right? And again, in large part due to the fact that, you know, Ramen was so busy trying to deny Neblime the push out. But, you know, just another reason to scout, I think. Always good to scout. And I think maybe another thing that Protoss players and Terran players alike can try to think about is, imagine you're playing StarCraft 1, you're playing TVP. There's a bunch of Solarian, well, they're carriers in StarCraft 1, carriers being made. But now imagine you don't have scanner sweep. So how do you tell without being able to find where the carriers are? You haven't seen a spinning cybernetics core because they built a second one and used that. You haven't seen a Stargate. You haven't seen a fleet beacon. You haven't seen nothing to indicate that it's going to be carriers. How are you going to deal with that? How are you going to intuit that so you can prepare a counter? You count the ground units. You kind of intuit, okay, his power should be higher. I've scouted that he has a 3rd base. I scouted that he's taking a 4th base. I know that he's not taking any other bases. What could it be? He's not building ground units. He's not showing me more ground units. Not to the level of scaling that you would expect. He must be having some kind of tech switch. At least in Cosmonarchy, you don't know that it's carrier, right? Because you would know that in the mapped out meta of StarCraft 1. But think about it like that, right? I know he's doing something. I need to scout him immediately to see what's going on. Why doesn't he have more things? It's hard to be thinking about that in the middle of the game, admittedly. Not a dig at Ramen by any means. Just pointing that out so that you guys can maybe at home think about that when you're watching Cosmonarchy in the future. Has this player scouted? Are they going to be preparing a counter? Let's move on to the last game of the set, and hopefully we get a little bit more of an explosive, exciting ending than that. But hey, the back and forth in that one was pretty cool. And we are back with yet another match between TopRamen and Neblime. It's going to be the last one of the set. I'm not sure if Neblime is going to go 5-0, or if Ramen is going to come on back swinging. Remember, I still think about this. It's so funny. Neblime has obviously been the winningest player since Mystery Meat, right? He won Ascension 7, he won Acropolis #1, and then he wasn't actually able to make it past top 3 on Tyrant's Tail. TopRamen defeated him, and then wasn't quite able to make it over the line against Hit 'em Up. And I think about that. Like, TopRamen defeated him in the head-to-head, but now the meta is different. And now Neblime has some different ideas of what he wants to do. You know, obviously, Storm is different. The economy is different. What else is going to go on that's going to be different for these homies? That's what I want to know. I can't wait to see if this matchup happens in Acropolis number 2, who will really take the cake. You know what I mean? Neblime is going to go away for a trip. And so as a result, he actually won't be around to grind, whereas Ramen will mostly still be around to grind. And I just couldn't be happier. Terran supremacy. I need to see Tesagi in Cosmonarchy without it being like, well, it still is arguable that the other races are also good. You know what I mean? I don't want to just outright give them OP units. That wouldn't be very interesting. I need to like subtly make it engineer Terran victory over the Xenos scum. Just like it is in StarCraft 1 where Terran's OP. Anyway, I'm sure I started several flame wars with that one, but we do have TopRamen here as the silver Terran in the top left. I promise he won't play like a silver. He's pretty damn good. We saw him at about 1,000 APM over here. I mean, obviously, he must be good. Meanwhile, down here in the bottom right, I'm going to say this is Platinum Blue Protoss for Neblime. And there it is. I'll once again remind our viewers that we do have some cool sound effect stuff taken care of, where the gateways and the Zerg structures as well. So the Protoss and Zerg structures both finish warping. I was about to say structuring. Finish constructing. Finish warping in for Protoss or mutating for Zerg. And then they create and play their what line, right? Their unit response line for when you click on them. Scribe trying to be a little bit fancy with it, but it doesn't matter. Ramen will not be attacked this time. Hierophant already out, though. Mason more than halfway across, a little bit of a later scout than the last couple of games that Ramen has done. I'm noticing Ramen is not actually, before he was not scouting in the first 2 games, and now he's scouted every game since. I think that's kind of interesting to think about. If you guys are interested in how those games went and you didn't see part 1 of the series, I highly recommend checking it out over on YouTube. It is, of course, linked in the description. And Neblime is going to go ahead and do a little bit of a dance, killing the Mason, and of course, identifying where those mines are. Now another set is going to come on down. You get cliff advantage standing on this ramp, so that's going to allow Neblime to maybe make the engagement happen a little bit more favorably to him. It looks like he's fishing out for that mine so he can drag it up. That's not a bad idea, considering he's going to be safer from the vultures. There's 2 more on the way, and we've got another pair coming. So again, Ramen didn't rally the first reinforcement pair quite so fast. It is a 2-Fulk opener yet again. And this time going Starpad behind it. Okay, he's got something different in mind. He definitely has something different in mind. We've got double Dracodon and a Hierophant. The Cantavis nearly complete. The time to hit might be soon, but you can see, oh man, Neblime almost sniped the Vulture already, but he does get the mines down. That's actually more big than you would think, because the Cantavis has to spend the first cast of Psystorm dealing with that position. Now a couple of them have already been cleared, the Worker being pretty useful for that as well, but 2 more Vultures coming on in and gonna see if they can lay their mines. It's a little bit bold to put the Nexus down here. Remember, what if he needs those resources for something else? I guess his production queues are already taken care of. Instead, the Nexus is going to go ahead and get up. A little bit bruised, but nothing too significant. 2 more Vultures on the way. And another Ministry coming. What is this Starpad going to be? Of course, the first thing I think of is drops. And there it is, the Terran Trojan in production. Ramen going to be able to pick up whatever comes out of his... oh, it's Cyclops. It's Cyclops, boys. And yeah, okay, we have 1 more lobotomy mine in this general vicinity here for Ramen, but that doesn't really provide him that much vision. It's like this much, or maybe this much vision max. It's probably less than that though. And so yeah, when your units are burrowed, including mines, their sight range is actually cut in half. So it has 1.5 vision. You know, normally it has 3, but nope, that's not quite as much as it has when it's actually burrowed. Trojan is out. 2 Cyclops are out. We've got 2 more in production. I think Ramen will probably wait for the drop. We do have a double Rogue Gallery follow-up here, so Neblime also going to be trying something different. It's always interesting when somebody's been playing a stable style and then they kind of change it up at some point for the purpose of, you know, trying to counter what was already done. And then you think, oh, now I'm gonna try to counter what they did, but then they do something different too. And it's like, God damn it, now I don't even know if it was good into the original thing. That can very much happen often. There we go, some pretty good stuns coming out, and Cantavis trying to be focused down. Ramen has this issue sometimes where he doesn't really lead into the shot, and so his Vultures kind of collide with each other. But look at this, he is pulling the army very wonderfully away from his opponent. The only problem is, what if Neblime just goes across the map and tries to kill him? You know, there's not really that much for defense. We've got more Vultures being made, 2 more Fulcrums being made. The Ministry is done and just continuing to produce additional Masons. Might have to start holding at the ramp to his main at this point. I don't know that he'll be able to actually set up that anchor. The mines are pretty good. He can lay some more, very emergency. High need for that. And now the Cantavis is going to be wandering up over here. Legionnaires getting picked. Front line getting taken care of is actually a really big deal here. Goes after that Zealot, is going to be able to finish him off. Now diving onto the Cantavis. Remember that Hierophant, I said that in the last game. The Hierophant is so important for keeping those units alive. But now the Cyclops have landed, and they are dealing a lot of damage to the workers. You can see 16 workers. That is not a good sign for Neblime. He's going to need to break on through here. But 2 more Cyclops are being made. The anchor has been destroyed. It doesn't look like that got canceled to me. Ramen instead down here microing versus the Vagrants that have come out of those road galleries. But, you know, the worker damage has been dealt. So as long as Neblime is held by the ramp, we could be seeing some pretty good positions here. You can see the Vagrants trying to use the splash damage of the Cyclops to kill them. And look at that. He even ends up picking the Trojan. It was too low to try that kind of maneuver. So it looks like Neblime has been freed of that drop pressure, including the killing the actual... The Trojan in that position is a very, very big deal. Mine's on the ramp over here. It's dire positions, but trying to go after that Hierophant, also trying to spread the damage onto the Cantavis. Looks like he'll get it with the last hit. That was very impactful, and a Lodestone now being made. The Vultures can swing on into that, but first they just want to get rid of that Amaranth, that pesky Amaranth, doing its best to stay alive, but it's a little bit too busy on other things right now. One more hit. 2 more hits, 5 more hits. You know, you can see how powerful Amaranths are, dude. Reinforcements now coming in, but the Ministry will scout that out. We still have 3, no, make it 6 Vultures being made. We got 4 of them that can be produced a pop. The Starpad did start construction in the middle of Neblime's vision. We'll see if he actually paid attention to that. He obviously had the Matrix back at home. And now the Vagrants are going to be popped by the Vultures. It looks like Ramen has just barely held. There is an Envoy in production. I believe we will end up seeing a drop via the Cantavis. A Warden in the Natural, okay. Matrix over here. I'm not sure, man. I feel like if you do another Cyclops drop, it could really clean house, but also, is that really what you're going to be trying to do? No, he's going to go for Vultures instead. Not as powerful at killing workers. They don't have the spread damage, and it looks like, you know, I don't see a Cantavis. I mean, one of them just finished. Is that what he's going to be scooping up here? It looks like yes. Not really leaving himself too much on the defensive front. He has more Vagrants coming. Seems like there's going to be a little bit of a 1-2 punch going on over here. The ground move out is going to be sighted. No eyes on this storm drop. He does have some Vultures. There's 2 Vultures in that Lodestone, but it's positioned pretty far away. Here come the Vultures unloading over here. I think when you see the Vultures, you're probably okay with this position. You might not even mind too much that there's a... you might just go back to mining, right? And here we go. The Cantavis is unloaded. Ramen hasn't paid attention to it just yet. And now we're going to see the storm very slowly kill all of those Masons. Maybe not so slow, because where is the reaction time from Ramen? Now he's down to the same worker count of his opponent. He dives onto the enemy workers inside the mineral line with his Vultures. His Trojan has actually lived to tell the tale. And it looks like... I thought maybe that ground army would actually move up here and try to pincer from Neblime, but not going to be the case. So I guess out of all of that, we've basically stabilized. We've got 2 tanks being produced at a pop, with the Phalanx count going to be very instrumental in actually defending. And look at this, another storm drop. This is where things can get really bad here for Ramen. He only looks back after it's been, you know, 2-3 seconds or however long that was for the storms to actually deal the damage. Neblime trying to make magic happen, and the Vultures should just be leading along with us. As soon as the Cantavis drops, they can be killing him, but it looks like he might be falling apart a little bit. Another drop, more workers going down, and that's down to 15 workers, especially with spread damage from the Phalanxes causing friendly fire in the natural. Yeah, this is a clean sweep for Neblime, dude. He just posted his dubs the whole way through. I can't believe that. Yeah, I think in this situation, if you can try to keep a clear head about you with the Vultures, you can just follow the drop. What's the Cantavis going to do? Unload, start to cast, and then die to the first Vulture salvo? You're not going to lose any Masons in that kind of situation. You just need the 5 Vultures to be in the position. Even if you don't have 5, maybe you only have 3. That's still going to be good. As long as you have at least 3, you can kill it in 2 salvos, right? So it's not really that big of a deal in my estimation, as long as you can keep your wits about you. And that was a really chaotic game. Makes total sense why Ramen wasn't able to do that. But in the future, if maybe he can hold on to that Maxim, you know, unsolicited advice from the caster who would never be able to... I would never be able to beat Ramen in a game straight up. I'd have to do some really wacky, cheesy shit. But hey, in that kind of situation, maybe I know what I'm talking about even more so than ever, than normal, right? A 5-0 for Neblime, unheard of, really. I don't think we've ever casted a series where it's been quite like that. But the games They gave hit 'em up ideas, they gave me ideas, they gave the world ideas that maybe Protoss can still be great. Maybe since we've had a Zerg champion at Acropolis #1, it was Neblime, and we've had a Terran champion at Tyrant's Tail, it was hit 'em up. Maybe we can have a Protoss champion too. Maybe we can have a Protoss champion in Acropolis #2. Will it be Hapsea? I don't even know if he's going to play. Let's find out, homies. GG.